I have not been able to correct all the answer sheets till now, students. Um, for all those who are sending me individual inquiries about why I have deducted marks for copying, you don't have to really worry. I'm going to show you how I feel something has been copied. So please don't send me individual inquiries. And you will also notice that I have not finished reviewing any answer sheet. So while I have awarded marks for certain questions, I'm now in the process of reviewing each answer um, for plagiarism. So it's important for me to first go through all answers of every student and then realize if there's been copying. And there have been cases wherein a particular student has attempted only 7 questions, and out of which 4 have been a direct lift from the net. So, of course, for any question wherein any such means has been adopted, I will award a 0 for the answer, but there will also be, in addition to that, -2 marks. So this particular student is getting a -8. He's been awarded 3 marks and he'll get -8. So there's situations like this, and I will take my time because if the last date, I guess it's 19th for you to be shown your answer sheet. I'm probably going to discuss the question paper on Tuesday because I hope by then it is, I hope you understand that it's a big assignment to go through every answer and see if it's been copied from somewhere, which is the case with majority of you. Sorry to say that. So do not send me any individual inquiries. Like I said, I'll clear all your doubts. I will show you your batchmate's answer and your answer if you have that query at all, though I think you all know what you've done. So this is just a request that I will not be answering any individual queries as of now. Once we have this class, which will be informed, I mean, I'll mail you all on Monday that this is the agenda for the class on Tuesday or maybe Thursday, we will see. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू रिप्लाई टू इंडिविजुअल मेल्स, तो प्लीज मुझे मत भेजो. मैंने एक दो को तो रिप्लाई किया है, बट आई डोंट वांट यू टू सेंड मी एनी फर्दर मेल्स. और वी विल गो थ्रू ऑल द क्वेश्चंस, वी विल डिस्कस ऑल द क्वेश्चंस एंड क्या आइडियल आंसर्स है. तुम लोगों ने जो आइडियल आंसर्स दिया है वो भी हम शो करेंगे आपको, तो उसमें उतना परेशान होने की जरूरत नहीं है. एवरीथिंग विल बी शोन टू यू. ओके, एनी डाउट्स फ्रॉम द लास्ट क्लास, all those who were there? What were we talking about? Anybody who was present in the last class who would like to summarize? कौन था? Udita? Can you summarize what?
Hello.
हाँ, Udita.
Yes, ma'am. So we were talking about the theta model and how it replicates how the DNA strand separates using helicase enzyme, and then how it reconnects back, and how there are leading strands and lagging strands. So we are talking about various enzymes and the DNA replication model. We completed the theta model. So this
Correct.
is
So after having completed the theta model, I wanted the first one of the first slides was this, that the some of the features of DNA replication are it being semi-conservative, it being bidirectional, and there being a semi-discontinuous synthesis. Is that clear now? These 3 points after having told you about theta model. Who else was there? कौन था? Jaskeen, were you there yesterday?
Yes, ma'am.
Are these 3 points clear, or do you have a doubt with that? I said after having told you all the features, I would come back to this. And so what do you understand by bidirectional? Jaskeen?
Am I audible?
You are audible when you ask this question, but tell me the answer. What do you mean
Yeah,
by
ma'am.
bidirectional?
Like it means that we can have from 5 dash to 3 dash and 3 dash to 5 dash as well.
नहीं, इसीलिए तो पूछ रहा है ये कब होता है. 3 prime to 5 prime कब होता है? That is not the meaning of bidirectional, and this is the reason why I'm showing you this slide. Anybody else? Did I ever mention that there's 3 prime to 5 prime synthesis? It cannot happen, Jaskeen. DNA polymerase cannot do that.
It's
Ayush Verma?
it is only from
Ma'am, isn't that it is in two direction like that? But
बाई डायरेक्शनल का मतलब टू डायरेक्शन है, इसीलिए हम पूछ रहे थे कि बाई डायरेक्शनल से क्या समझते हो, लेकिन ये 5 प्राइम 3 प्राइम को नहीं रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है. A polymerase cannot act on the 5 prime end.
But it
It will.
replicates in 2 directions.
इसीलिए तो ये स्लाइड देखो, बाई डायरेक्शनल का क्या मतलब है. आयुष, do you want to add something?
Ma'am, one strand is lagging strand and other is leading strand, so they are in opposite direction. So they
What? Yes, they are in opposite direction, but how is the synthesis? What is the directionality for the synthesis, Ayush?
5 prime to 3 prime. It is always
Always, है ना? It can always be 5. So Jaskin, पता नहीं तुम्हें ये आइडिया कैसे हुआ कि 3 प्राइम टू 5 प्राइम, ऐसा मैंने कभी नहीं कहा था. जो अलग स्ट्रैंड में, इस स्ट्रैंड में भी जो हो रहा है, जो लैगिंग स्ट्रैंड में, दैट इज ऑलवेज इन द डायरेक्शन ऑफ 5 प्राइम टू 3 प्राइम. इसीलिए मैंने वो स्लाइड दिखाई. बाय डायरेक्शनल मतलब इट इज टुवर्ड्स दिस, एज द फोक मूवमेंट देखो, it is in two directions, right? And while it is also happening in two directions on both the strand, it is happening one in this direction, the other one in this direction. The synthesis is always 5 prime to 3 prime. The polymerase requires a 3 prime OH. अभी ठीक है? Clear है जस्कीन?
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है, यही डाउट मुझे क्लियर करना था तुम लोग का, in case you had. So basically this is the holistic picture of what happens in the replication bubble with two replication forks digging on opposite sides, and ultimately they meet at the tear site. ठीक है? We were trying to resolve this paradox wherein the number of origins of replication were different in the case of a slow growing and a fast growing bacteria, and this is because of these facts that I had put forth. So the idea was to explain to you what is theta model and what is rolling circle. The theta model was important or is important for the replication of bacterial chromosomes, as you saw even in the earlier binary fission lectures. And then I went on to give you a brief about the molecular biology behind it, the machinery, the replication machinery behind it. So after having covered the first model, which was important for, which is important for the replication of chromosome, the next model that we are going to talk of is the rolling circle model. This is the model which is prevalent in the case of replication of plasmids, and also in the case of viruses you will come across rolling circle model of replication of DNA. And this is, while the basic molecular biology remains the same, you will see how the mechanistics differ here. So in the rolling circle model of replication, it starts off with, so this is the double-stranded DNA, and it starts with the generation of a nick, which is a break on one of the strands, and this strand is called as the plus strand, just for ease. Now the 3' OH end can be extended by replication enzymes, the polymerases. So here, if the polymerase starts acting, it can keep on adding nucleotides based on the other strand, which is the negative strand, called as the negative strand. And as the 3' end is lengthened, the 5' ends get displaced. So here the polymerase starts adding nucleotides and it starts reading the minor strand such that this strand, which is the other end of the nicked strand, gets displaced. Like you see here, it gets to get displaced, and the 3' end keeps on elongating based on the other strand. The 5' end of the strand acts as a template for the complementary lagging strand as it displaces. So if you see this strand gets displaced, and as it gets displaced, you will have, in a similar model like theta model, you will have these fragmented or discontinuous synthesis of, the red one is the newer DNA which is being formed. The red strand is being laid. The leading strand and the template strand. So if you see, this is the leading strand and this is the template strand of the lagging strand. They remain covalently attached to each other. Basically, this is a continuum. क्या बोल रहे हैं? The leading strand and the template for the lagging strand are covalently attached to each other. Okay, so what you have is actually multiple copies of the DNA joined to each other, and these multiple copies joined to each other are called as concatemers. They're known as concatemers. So basically there's a chain of multiple copies. And so here one strand is replicated continuously while the other strand, this strand is being replicated discontinuously. So this allows for the manufacture of many copies of the genome like you find in viruses or you find in plasmids, and we'll cover both viruses and plasmid and how rolling circle helps. And the molecular biology of course remains the same. The way the leading strands are formed, the lagging strand is formed, but it's just here that one serves as a template, and that is in continuation. The newer leading strand is in continuation with the template of the lagging strand. किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन है इसमें? समझ में आया यहाँ क्या हो रहा है? प्रथम अंसल, प्रथम अंसल तुम साइन इन क्यों करते हो? हाँ भव्य आसमी,
तो है 5 प्राइम का या 3 प्राइम का?
भव्य मुझे तुम्हारी आवाज
जी।
ट्रैक करिए, फिर से बोलना जरा क्वेश्चन क्या?
ये जो रेड वाली स्ट्रैंड में एरो है वो 5 प्राइम के लिए 3 प्राइम के लिए?
रेड वाली नहीं, मुझे समझ में नहीं आया एरो का क्या मतलब कहते हो? एरो मतलब जहां जिस डायरेक्शन में सिंथेसिस हो रही है तो वो हमेशा 3 प्राइम पे ही ऐड होगा ना, तो दिस मींस दिस इज द 3 प्राइम जिसमें ये लीडिंग स्ट्रैंड का ऐड हो रहा है। और सिमिलरली यहाँ पे अगर तुम्हें रेप्लिकेशन फोर्क याद हो तो कंसिडर दिस एज अ रेप्लिकेशन फोर्क। तो एक तो कंटिन्यूअस हो रहा है जो रेप्लिकेशन फोर्क जैसे डिग इन कर रहा है, लेकिन ऑपोजिट साइड में सिर्फ डिसकंटिन्यूअस सिंथेसिस हो सकती है, करेक्ट? क्योंकि 5 प्राइम है यहाँ पे, तो यहाँ पे हमेशा 5 प्राइम टू 3 प्राइम अगर होना है तो डिसकंटिन्यूअस होगा। एज दिस डिस्प्लेसेस you will have a primer lead and a discontinuous synthesis. Consider this to be exactly like one of the replication forks, ये region. समझ में आ रहा है भव्या?
यस।
ये जो है ना जहां भी तुम एरो देख रहे हो दैट इज 3 प्राइम पे एडिशन, वो डायरेक्शन दिखा रहा है कि एडिशन कैसे हो रहा है। तो यहाँ ये कंटिन्यूअस हो रहा है और यहाँ डिसकंटिन्यूअस हो रहा है, जैसे जैसे ओपन होता जा रहा है यहाँ डिसकंटिन्यूअस हो रहा है, ठीक है?
यस।
Anybody else has a question? Like I said, the molecular mechanism is exactly the same. I'm just trying to show you how the two strands are connected, and it's kind of a method to make multiple copies very fast. तो यहाँ पे भी obviously यहाँ पे भी हेलिकेज एक्ट करेगा, सिंगल स्ट्रैंड बाइंडिंग प्रोटीन, सबके अपने अपने functions यहाँ पे भी होंगे, and you will see that you also need a ligase to then connect the broken or the discontinuous fragments. Everything else will remain the same. This is just so, and the name is derived from the fact that it's kind of a rolling circle. So this is being read continuously in a rolling fashion. इसलिए ये नाम है इसका. And concatemers are just these multiple copies linked together. Is that clear, students? Okay, so I don't see any hands raised. Now, I mentioned to you that whatever we talked of, acha, haan, that reminds me, Udita, you asked me a question about the kind of size of the Okazaki fragments, and I mentioned to you 100 to 200 nucleotides. That was for eukaryotes. Okay, prokaryotes are larger, 1200 nucleotides type hota hai. Okay, I'm sorry I gave you the number for the eukaryotes. Okay. Udita, I hope that's clear, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Now for eukaryotes, you will see that the basic mechanism remains the same. There are, however, certain differences. और eukaryotes पे हम बिल्कुल stress नहीं करेंगे. This is going to be the topic for your next course, that is molecular biology and genetics. But I just wanted to show you some analogy here. While some of the functions are very similar, the helicase, the primase, then you have single strand binding proteins. You also have DNA ligase and topoisomerases, जो हम लोगों ने देखा था. For prokaryotes. However, here the major difference is, unlike prokaryotic cells, in eukaryotic cells you have multiple origins of replication and the nomenclature is different. So for example, here the polymerase, the most important polymerase is DNA polymerase 3, which was doing the major function. Here you have various other polymerases performing different functions, whether it is repair or recombination, replication. And again, like I said, while the function, the removal of RNA primer also requires a 5' to 3' exonuclease activity. Here it's done by DNA polymerase in prokaryotes, while in eukaryotes it's an RNase H. Otherwise, you will see that most of the function, and because they don't have telomeres, this is not applicable for prokaryotes. You might have studied about, or you have studied about apoptosis and other functions related to the telomerase. So yeah, this is just an overview of what is the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. And like I said, you will get an in-depth knowledge of all this in your next course. So that brings us to the end of this module. I would now like to move to the next topic. Pratham Bansal unable to mute. Acha. Okay, so after replication, I hope replication is clear. I will briefly take you through
Yes,
the.
ma'am.
Haan, bolo.
I had a question, like, does the length of the difference in the length of the Okazaki fragments have any significance?
The difference in the length of the
Yeah, like for, as you mentioned, like for prokaryotes, it's around 1,000 plus, and for eukaryotes, it's like 200 to 300. So that's a like big difference.
I need to check this because I guess this is related to the multiple origins that are found in eukaryotes, but I really need to check what exactly is the significance of this. Okay, so I'll get back to you, Vishantan.
Okay.
This, huh? Okay, then let me share the next PPT. After having covered binary fission and after having covered even the DNA replication part, you must have realized that there are no chances of variation per se from whatever processes that we have covered. The daughter cells or the offsprings that are formed are completely identical to the parent. But with the kind of adaptability that you have realized in prokaryotes, there has to be means of genetic variation for their evolution as well as for their long lineage. So you know how long they've been in existence and how they've evolved. There has to be a means for variation. So in bacteria, genetic variation is achieved by gene transfer from one bacterium to the other. We have kind of referred to it in our earlier classes when I think Ashi asked me or somebody else, we were talking of horizontal gene transfer, wherein the transfer is between the bacterium in a population or within a population. This was once believed to be an uncommon event, but now we have very strong evidences of such genetic exchanges to be the major driving force for bacterial evolution. In fact, now the absence of genetic exchange is believed to be unusual. So there are two main sources of genetic variation in bacteria, in prokaryotes in general. One is by incorporating mutations, which are again of two types. There could be point mutations and there could be DNA rearrangements. I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. And the other variation is horizontal gene transfer. Now, mutation is, I'm sure most of you know that it's any kind of change in the DNA sequence. There are various types, like I said. On the other hand, genetic variation by the process of HGT, like the name suggests, it is horizontal transfer of genes. Okay. The focus of today's lecture is going to be HGT, but I'll briefly mention to you mutations. Mutations, they can result as errors during replication. You saw that DNA polymerase 3 also would incorporate some errors, but they can also be induced by certain environmental factors. अगर तुम्हें UV radiation का control mechanism याद हो तो वो thymidine dimers introduce करता था जिससे कि later it was resulting into changes in the DNA makeup. So there could be both inherent mutations resulting due to the machinery, or it could be because of certain environmental factors. However, mutations are they are very slow. They're not very common events. So cells have their own repair mechanism. So they rectify most of these errors. Like I even showed you the exonuclease activity found in polymerases. So they're not too common that changes in DNA would be inherited. So the mutations, they could be point mutation, wherein there are changes in single nucleotides, or there could also be changes which involve multiple nucleotides, as in the stretches of DNA being changed. So hence the two terms, point mutations and DNA rearrangements. Now, when you talk of point mutation or change in one nucleotide, it could even be a substitution, just one base change. So, for example, you see here, this is the normal DNA and this is how the mRNA is formed from this information. A substitution would mean a C being changed, for example, to T, and that completely changes the mRNA or amino acid sequence as well. There could even be insertion. So, for example, at this point, or there could be deletion of nucleotides. All these changes that I mentioned to you, they may lead to phenotypic changes as well. Instead of a change involving just one nucleotide, DNA rearrangements, on the other hand, are possible wherein a stretch of nucleotides are inserted or they are deleted. Thereby, they also lead to changes in the genetic makeup, hence are called as mutations. So either whether it is insertion or DNA rearrangements, you will find insertions and deletions to be common. Now, when you talk of point mutations, the substitution can be, for example, there could be transitions or there could be transversions. When I say transition, it is an interchange of a purine with a purine or a pyrimidine with a pyrimidine, while transversion refers to change from a purine to a pyrimidine and pyrimidine to a purine, vice versa. Okay, so this is what I mean when I say substitution as a point mutation. There's one mutation which is of interest for us in our further classes as well. Mutations such that any of the biosynthetic or the biochemical pathway is affected results in bacterial strains called as auxotrophs. So auxotrophs, they do not have the ability to synthesize a particular molecule or a metabolite, and hence for their growth, the moiety, the cell has to be amended, the particular medium has to be amended with the particular compound that the strain cannot synthesize. Okay, and the wild type strain from which this auxotroph would have been generated is called as a prototroph, which requires no such supplementation. So just to give you an example, if this is the minimal medium, a prototroph can grow on the minimal medium, and even if you supplement something like arginine, because the prototroph can synthesize arginine, this does not affect its growth. I mean, it will anyway, irrespective of the fact that arginine is added, it will grow on both these plates. However, if there is an arginine auxotroph, which means it's a mutant for synthesis of arginine, it is not able to synthesize arginine, and this is the prototroph from which this auxotroph would have been generated. If you grow it on a minimal medium, you will not see any growth, simply because it cannot make one of the most important constituents required by it, that is arginine. However, if you supplement the minimal medium with arginine, you can see the auxotroph growing. Okay, so you understand this is a biochemical mutation. Anybody has a doubt? Because we will be talking about auxotrophs in one of the next classes. You understand what is an auxotroph? So if I say a glycine auxotroph or a proline auxotroph, you understand what that means. It is not able to synthesize that particular, in this case, amino acid. So whenever you want to grow such kind of an organism, you need to have the particular metabolite or the compound supplemented in the medium. I hope it is clear, students. So then I'll move to, this is all about mutation. I wanted to introduce you to auxotroph, hence I talked about the kind of mutations. We will now talk about horizontal gene transfer. Horizontal gene transfer is also called as lateral gene transfer, and unlike the transfer of genes from parents to offsprings, which is called as vertical transfer, so the DNA is transferred to the two offsprings, and we have talked about it in 2 or 3 lectures. In horizontal gene transfer, there is non-genealogical transmission of genetic material from one organism to the other organism. So genealogy nahi maintain hoti hai, it's transferred to another bacterium from by means other than vertical gene transfer. This transfer can even be cross species. Now, this is particularly restricted to, of course, this is what you say when you say a cell divides, it's not going to change, or it cannot be interspecies or stuff. Here, you can even have cross species transfer. And it is horizontal gene transfer, which happens to be the main means of introducing variation in prokaryotes. It is this process which contributes to the adaptability of bacteria and their evolution, because mutation, like I mentioned, many of the mutations or changes in the genetic material are actually rectified by a cell's strong repair system. Now, there are 3 main means of transfer of genetic material about which we'll be talking. It's transformation, transduction, and conjugation. And I'll give you a brief idea today, probably just of transformation and transduction. But before we do that, we have to understand two terms. One is the exogenote and the other one is an endogenote. And I'll be talking in terms of these two words only. Exogenote is the DNA fragment that enters into the recipient cell by horizontal gene transfer, while endogenote is the recipient's native DNA, what the recipient already possesses. So whatever be the means of transfer by any of these means, when there is foreign DNA entering a recipient cell, you call that particular stretch of DNA as exogenote, and there would be an endogenote. And when the genetic transfer leads to a partial diploidy, now you know that diploidy was found in eukaryotes. You found diploidy in the zygotes, in fungi, in algae, or even in higher organisms, you have diploidy. In prokaryotes, you have only haploidy. If a situation arises wherein there is diploidy, so I'm just trying to show you a different allele for the same function. Okay. So this is the same gene, let's say, and 2 variants of it, one because of a transfer from another organism. So if this situation arises wherein there is a partial diploidy, this cell is going to be partially diploid for, let's say, A gene. The cell is then called as a merozygote or a partial zygote. Zygote, if you remember, has the genetic makeup from both parts, from both the parents, but here there is partial diploidy, hence it's called as a merozygote. So exogenote, the one that enters into the recipient cell, endogenote is the native DNA or the native genome of the recipient. Now, whatever be the mechanism of entry of the exogenote, there are 4 possible fates. So like I said, conjugation or transformation or transduction or, if there is partial diploid recipient cell that you will find, there can be 4 fates of the exogenote. The first fate is that the exogenote, it can integrate with the recipient chromosome. So the red one is the exogenote and the blue one is the endogenote. If such a case happens that the exogenote integrates with the recipient's chromosome, it can then be stably transferred to the progeny or the offspring. So that will result into a population of stable recombinants. There has been recombination of the 2 genetic material, and so you can have variation possible. Now, even if it does not, so that's the first fate. Now, second case may, even if it is not able to integrate, but if it can replicate, it can circularize and then have a means for self-replication. If that is the case, even then, this cell, which is called as a recombinant cell, if it reproduces, you will have a stable set of recombination. So you will have this the integrity of this exogenote maintained even in the population. समझ में आ रहा है हम क्या बोल रहे हैं? And we're talking about the fate of the exogenote, this foreign DNA which is entering, and of course, if it can integrate, it's quite easy. With every replication, this exogenote is transferred to the offsprings. But even if it does not integrate and it can form a self-replicating body like the plasmid, it can be transferred to the successive generations in the offsprings. Okay. Now coming to the third case. The third case is when the donor DNA, if it is not able to self-replicate, तो क्या होगा? Anybody? What will happen if the exogenote, let's say it circularizes, but it still circularizes as in the second case. However, it is still not self-replicating. तो क्या होगा, आशी? आयुष वर्मा?
वो फिर नया कोई जीन नहीं बनेगा, मतलब कुछ ऐड नहीं होगा उसमें।
क्यों नहीं होगा? ये तो हम कह रहे हैं ना कि वो सेल्फ रेप्लिकेट नहीं कर पा रहा है, बट द डोनर डीएनए इज देयर. सो व्हाट विल हैपन? Compare it from the last case wherein it was circularizing, but it was able to self replicate. इस केस में self replication नहीं है. Let's say it circularizes. तो क्या होगा आगे next generation में? नेक्स्ट जनरेशन में क्या होगा आयुष बताओ? सेल्फ रेप्लिकेट नहीं कर सकता तो आयुष म्यूट क्यों किया?
वेरिएशन नहीं होगा उसमें, जो पहले था वही रहेगा।
इलैबोरेट करो।
मींस जो एक्सोजीनोम आना था उससे जो वेरिएशन होगा वो नहीं होगा, लेकिन जो जीन उसके पास था सिर्फ उससे वो रिप्रोड्यूस कर देगा, अपने आगे बढ़ेगा।
एनीबडी एल्स? दीपक जहांगीर कुछ ऐड करना चाहते हो? इस केस में क्या होगा फेट?
मैम सेल डिवीजन के टाइम जो एक्सोजीनोट है उसका रेप्लिकेशन नहीं होगा, तो वो डॉटर सेल में नहीं जाएगा और पेरेंट सेल में रह जाएगा।
अरे पेरेंट सेल में कैसे रह जाएगा? बाइनरी फिजन याद करो। हाँ
हाँ वो डॉटर सेल में, बट उसको रेप्लिकेट नहीं कर पाएगा, वो यूज नहीं कर पाएगा उसको।
नहीं, फिर से सोच के बोलो, तुम सही जा रहे हो। एक पेरेंट सेल है, वो डिवाइड करेगा 2 में, तो क्यों नहीं जाएगा डॉटर सेल में?
मैम डॉटर सेल में जाएगा बट वो रेप्लिकेट नहीं होगा ना। जैसे डीएनए को रेप्लिकेट करते हैं तब 2 डॉटर सेल बनेगी, बट उसका रेप्लिकेशन नहीं होगा।
हाँ, तो वो सिर्फ एक डॉटर सेल में जाएगा दीपक।
हाँ
समझ रहे हो?
हाँ हाँ
है ना? वो ये नहीं कि वो पेरेंट सेल में रह जाएगा। कैसे बोल रहे हो? पेरेंट सेल कहाँ रह गया? पेरेंट सेल तो खुद ही डिवाइड कर गया 2 सेल में। तो because it is not self-replicating, there will be only this one cell, one daughter cell, which will continue to have this exogenote. Correct, Deepak?
Yes, ma'am.
है ना? The other cell will not have it, right? So it is not going to lead to the stable recombination in the successive generation. In fact, maybe later even that exogenote is lost by the cell. Okay. So unlike the earlier case wherein there was circularization and self-replication and every offspring would get that exogenote, in this case it is ultimately going to be lost. Okay. That was the third case. Okay. Now coming to the fourth case, which is also the most common fate for an exogenote, that is called as host restriction. The recipient, it recognizes the exogenote to be foreign and it degrades it. Okay, this is called as host restriction. The host has a means to restrict the foreign DNA which has entered into the cell. In fact, circularization जो है, जो second और third case में था, this is a means of protecting the foreign DNA from host nucleases. So exonuclease, if you remember, would start degrading DNA from the ends. Once the exogenote circularizes, the exonucleases can no longer act. So in the latter two fates that I just mentioned, one in which there is no self-replication and the other in which there is host restriction, there will be no stable recombinants that are generated. One thing that I would like to mention here is that the effect of DNA uptake or the fate that you saw also depends on the nutritional needs of the cell. Matlab, the DNA which has been taken up, it can serve as excellent source of these monomers, the deoxyribonucleotides, which are needed for the replication of the cell's own genome. So a cell can actually save on the expensive process of synthesizing nucleotides by itself, expensive in terms of energy, in terms of molecular constituents, by taking up the DNA from outside or as exogenote, and then with the help of nucleases, it can use this DNA as a nutrient source. So it is not just the purpose of formation of recombinants and genetic variation, it can also serve as a source of in this case nucleotides by degrading the DNA and using up the monomers. I hope the fate is clear, the four fates are clear. Anybody has a doubt? No. Okay. Okay, this I'm going to skip because these are the different types of recombination, but I guess it's better you learn it in the next course. It's going to be a little heavy here. I'm going to stop after this slide. Maybe we'll take up transformation and transduction in the next classes, though I wanted to cover it today. These are the three mechanisms by which DNA is transferred among and within bacterial populations. In the case of transformation, exogenous DNA is taken up by the recipient cell from the environment. So in nature, the source of this DNA is going to be dead cells once they release their cellular components in the proximity. The other cells can take up this free DNA. So in this case, a live donor cell is not required. Basically, donor cell is dead, and once it releases its constituents, the recipient can take up this DNA. So in this case, in fact, the three means are different by the presence or absence or requirement of a live cell or a dead cell, and also by the means of transfer. So transformation mein free DNA is taken up by the recipient cell. In the case of bacterial transduction, which is the second mechanism, this is virus mediated, and in fact this is the reason why I wanted to give you a brief about viruses also when we're talking of transduction, like I said. Now in this case, virus carries a part of the DNA from its host, and upon infecting another cell, it serves as an agent for transferring the DNA of the earlier cell to the next cell that it infects. So here it is virus mediated. Here it was taken up directly from the environment. The exogenote was being taken up. In contrast to these two, conjugation involves the physical contact. अभी तक physical contact donor और recipient का नहीं था, ना transformation में ना transduction में. In the case of conjugation, this is the only mechanism wherein a physical contact of the donor and recipient is required, which leads to the formation of such kind of a bridge by which the donor's genetic material or a stretch of it enters into the recipient. Okay. And I will be taking up in the next lectures, we'll be talking about the different means of bacterial conjugation, the variants that are possible here. We are only going to get a brief glimpse of the other two mechanisms. However, we'll focus on bacterial conjugation. So this will be the main focus. I guess I will not start transformation now with just 10 minutes left. If there are any questions, students, please, you can ask me from whatever we have covered, or whether or not this brief about the three is clear, the differences are clear. हाँ भव्या, ask me.
ट्रांसडक्शन में बैक्टीरिया का अलाइव होना जरूरी है या वो भी?
कौन से बैक्टीरिया का?
जिससे फेज आया है.
डोनर.
हाँ.
नहीं, अलाइव नहीं होगा वो. इनफैक्ट जब बर्स्ट होगा ना सेल, वायरसेस जब रिलीज होंगे ना, तो ही वो इन्फेक्ट कर पाएंगे नेक्स्ट उसको, है ना. तो here the only requirement for a live cell is here in conjugation, क्योंकि physical contact चाहिए. ठीक है भव्या?
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else from this or the fates or any other topic that I covered today, you can ask me now. Otherwise, I don't see a point in starting transformation. So we will then end the class.
मैं
Ayush, पूछो.
इन दिस फेट में जब हमारा एक्सो जीनोम अपने को सेल्फ रेप्लिकेट नहीं कर पाया था, तो उस केस में आगे प्रोडक्शन होगा या फिर मतलब खुद की जो उसके क्रोमोसोम्स हैं
किसका
उसका
प्रोडक्शन आयुष?
जैसे ये वाले जो होस्ट था जिसमें एंडो जीनोम जो था,
हाँ,
वो अपना खुद का मतलब जैसे रेप्लिकेट करते वाले डीएनए, तो उसका तो होगा ना अपना खुद का.
बिल्कुल होगा. वो तो अफेक्ट ही नहीं हो रहा ना, तभी तुम कह रहे हैं नो स्टेबल रिकॉम्बिनेंस मतलब जहां पे भी ये चेंजेस हुए या वेरिएशन आया है, पर यहाँ पे तो वेरिएशन नहीं आएगा ना, क्योंकि ये सेल जो होस्ट सेल जो रेसिपिएंट सेल है वो तो नॉर्मली डिवाइड करेगा, तो उसका जीनोम तो कहीं पे भी अफेक्ट नहीं हो रहा है. अगर तुम ये चारों फेट में देखो तो वो जब भी रिप्रोड्यूस करेगा तो एंडोजीनोट तो ट्रांसफर होगा ही ऑफस्प्रिंग्स में. द फेट व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ इज ओनली अबाउट द एक्सोजीनोट, ये नहीं ट्रांसफर होगा. ठीक है आयुष? तो एंडोजीनोट में तो कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. ठीक, यहाँ पे भी जब हम तुम्हें डिग्रेडेशन बता रहे हैं तो यहाँ पे सिर्फ ये रेड वाला पार्ट डिग्रेडेड है, which is later taken up as nucleotides or whatever. It's only the red part, the exogenode, which is being degraded. So the reproduction is not being affected in any of the 4 cases. The normal reproduction.
Okay.
ठीक है आयुष?
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else? Okay, if not, then students will meet on Tuesday. Wishing you all a very happy Diwali. Students, stay safe. See you next week then.
Thank you.